Hello everyone, this is Joshua Smith of Apollo's Artifacts. It is 2019. This is going to be another informational supplementary episode to be added into the Satanic Panic Reconsidered series that I've been working on. This is from an article that seems to have been lost in the fray over the years in the battle between the people who believe everything about the Satanic Panic mythos and then those who say it was all just a bunch of hysteria. The title of this article is Satanism Growing Worry for Police, contributed to the Chicago Tribune by the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, October 8, 1987. They sound like campfire stories, tales of frenzied devil worshippers in black robes sacrificing animals and sometimes people before candlelit altars to Satan. But to a growing number of police investigators around the nation, stories of ritual mutilation, bloodletting, and sometimes murder are all too real. In seminars and conferences, they have begun to train others to see signs of satanic motives behind otherwise bizarre and inexplicable crimes. One of the investigators, Robert Simondl, a 20-year veteran of the Chicago Police Department, was in St. Paul, Minnesota earlier this month to talk to 150 local police investigators and youth social workers about the clues to satanic and occult crimes. Simondl, who has been studying cult crimes around the nation for 5 years, rattles off stories about ritual murders that rock the most seasoned of detectives. They are stories of ritual sacrifice, child molestation, grave robberies, and teenage suicide. "It was terrifying," said Solveig Storhoff, a Ramsey County, Minnesota child protection worker who attended the conference. "I became aware later of what it was I was afraid of. It was the unknown. It was chilling and overwhelming. You don't want to admit that this is actually going on." And I find it interesting there that he said that the fear is about the unknown, because that's the same thing that H.P. Lovecraft said was the center point of what we find the most fearful, that which is unknown. And that's how he wrote most of his stories, was from that basis. Simondl points out that much satanic crime goes unrecognized for what it is because police don't know the clues, such as mutilated goats, pentagrams, burning candles, satanic graffiti, and occult holy days. While there are no official statistics, enough documented criminal cases involving Satan worshippers have cropped up around the country in the past 5 years to lead Simondl and about a dozen other police detectives to begin looking for patterns and links. Among the images, stories, and cult artifacts Simondl presented the group were clippings of the most recent ritual criminal in the country, John Lee Fryman of Fairfield, Ohio. Fryman, 24, was sentenced to 30 years in prison last week for killing Monica Lehman, a Cincinnati waitress, cutting off her legs and throwing them in a nearby churchyard. Lehman's torso was never found. According to testimony in his trial, the killing and mutilation were part of a satanic ritual that took place with Fryman's girlfriend, Beverly Cox, before an inverted cross altar in the sorcery room. Devil worship has emerged as a motive for a number of high-profile serial killings, most notably the L.A. Night Stalker Richard Ramirez, who painted pentagrams or five-pointed stars associated with Satanism in the homes of several of his victims, and later emerged from a court hearing during his trial yelling, "Hail Satan." Police Detective Curtis Jackson of Beaumont, California, another scholar of satanic crimes, said other police officers have tended to be skeptical until they see the cases he has collected. Quote, "When we first started, people were saying, 'You're crazy, this stuff isn't going on.' Police are the biggest skeptics in the world. But when you're done with the presentation, the biggest question is, why didn't we learn about this before?" They think back to cases they've had in the past, and it all starts to make sense to them. And I really found this article interesting just in terms of the aspect of history, and because I've been investigating this whole thing related to the Satanic Panic and about the McMartin preschool case and so on. But this really offers at least 3 different interesting angles for follow-up in the 30-plus years since this article was published. People could look into more about this gentleman, Robert Simondl. People could look into the murder case of John Lee Fryman, find out what happened with him later on. And also people could look into the California police detective by the name of Curtis Jackson, who's also mentioned in this as a so-called scholar of satanic crimes, and find out what work he did after this. But I will link this article below, and also the Satanic Panic series itself once it is entirely complete. and also a supplementary section for further follow-up. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.